Guys, welcome back to another YouTube video here today, and we're coming at you with Chroma Accelerator Harlowe. So this is the first build I have done with the Chroma Accelerator in quite some time. I haven't bothered with Chroma Accelerator. It's one of my least favorite action skills, but I wanted to make a build of it because it's actually pretty good now, especially if you can spec correctly. You can infinitely shoot and all that. Okay, so this is what we're doing with the build. So we're gonna start with the skill tree. So we're putting 5 in Citron. We have getting an extra 5 from the class mod, and then we put 5 into elementary, so you can get some extra elemental damage with because this is a radiation build. And then I recommend using just the regular neutron capture, which is this one. So this one is all damage on Harlow's unstable energy pocket deals to enemies is stored. Whenever it explodes, Harlow's gunshot are converted to radiation damage and gains increased damage dealt based on portion of damage stored. So this we're using to convert all of our shots to radiation damage, so we're not forced to use just radiation damage. And then we put 5 points in elementary, 3 points in rich, 2 points in the great red dot. Now we put 5 points in the critical hit chance, so we have a bunch of critical hit chances. This is really nice. And then we put 5 points into momentum, so we get extra 25% critical hit damage. 5 points in the neutron decay, 3 points in the creative overflow, 2 points in the converted reality, 5 points in the excited state, 2 points in distribution function. So excited state infinite crit does not actually proc with the skill, but you do gain increased critical hit damage from it still. Even if infinite crit does not proc, you still get the critical hit damage boost. So this is why we are still using this skill. Even though the skill does not proc itself, but you are still getting the critical hit damage increase from the skill. Then we put 4 points into gamma ray burst so we get down the tree. And then we put 1 into Harlow's certainly principle so we can get down the tree. Then we put 3 into critical funding. So when we're hitting criticals, we get ammo back. Then we put 5 in the decoherence. And then we put 4 into Latin charge. So we get up to 40% bonus damage dealt of overshield. That's all you really need. And then for the guns, we are using the Rainmaker. You can also use the Wombo Combo for mobbing. That works really well too. We're using the Roulette. This is really, really, really good. And then we're using the Scoot and Shoot. And then we're using the Linebacker for Bloom's Crystals and all that. This is really great. Really good gun. And then we're using a enhancement that gives us fire rate and enrage, which is really nice. The crit knife is really good here because you're gonna want to hit many crits as possible. So using the crit knife can sometimes be really, really nice and essential, but you don't always need it, but it is really nice. So then we're using a Ripper enhancement, but you can also swap over to a Torg enhancement for the linebacker. So when you're fighting Bloom or any Crystal Knight enemies, so you have the extra 25% damage and extra 100% damage radius, I would recommend looking for gun splash radius or shotgun splash radius would be better for the linebacker purposes. And then we're using the triple amp watch for dinner. And then we're using the phlebotomist, which whenever Harlowe action skill is active, dealing gun damage to increase has a chance to cause a harmonious dealing kinetic status effect based on damage dealt. Harmonious deals twice as much damage as bosses. So we have 23% movement speed on this one and status effect damage. Not the greatest rolls. You would probably look for more like gun damage or gun or fire rate. Movement speed isn't particularly that great, but that's what we're looking for. And then we're using 3 dead eyes, so we get extra critical hit damage, which is really nice. And then we're using airstrike and 2 airstrikes, so you can get extra splash radius and extra splash damage, which is really nice for the linebacker because you want much as splash radius as possible as you can get for the linebacker. Using the bullets scared of me, the best defense, and riddle you this. And then we're going to use in the zone while aiming. The Vol Hunter gains increased gun damage or critical damage per bonuses. As a loss of 2 seconds, I have not aiming. This can be really nice. There really isn't much else to really use on this build, I would say, for specializations. And so with critical funding, it works really well. But to hit the most criticals, you need your action skill or Rad's damage. So like you're always hitting crits basically with Rad's damage. But in order to hit, see, like I'll show you this. Like say, we're not gonna hit any crits with this. Okay, no. Let's see now we're not, because he's not affected by radiation. See how we're not. But if you activate your action skill, explode that, you hit all kinds of crits. This is really, really nice. Hope you guys enjoy this build video. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.